Before beginning the review proper, this needs to be stated. When it comes to the anime that I watch, I do so in the hopes that I will like, maybe even love, what they are. I do not hate watch things. I do not try to affirm my prejudices about X show or X movie likely being bad or overrated. I do not watch things with the intent of trashing them. Basically, I do not approach anime in bad faith. Well, not anymore, to be more precise. Funny story, the last time I actually tried that with for the lulz intent, it showed me up and made a fool out of me real bad. Anyway, I'm telling you all this so that you can hopefully appreciate where I'm coming from if there ever is a time that I seriously rag on a movie or series. Whenever that happens, it's done with a heavy heart, with genuine disappointment. I wanted to really like this thing, but this thing has denied me the ability to do so through its own ineptitude. So, why choose now to explain all of that? Well, because shit is about to get real ugly, and you deserve to know why that is the case. Today in RedStripe Reviews, Glasslip. Let us set the scene. Before the summer 2014 season, where animation studio PA Works' then current series was the well-received original production Fish People, better known as nagi-asu. In this environment, an announcement is made that very soon there is going to be another PA Works original series starting up soon. It's called Glasslip, and check the visuals. The color palette is very reminiscent of the studio's 2011 original series, Hanasaku Iroha. The rural town visuals are reminiscent of Hanasaku Iroha, tram cars in particular. They even got nano.ripe, the band who soundtracked Hanasaku Iroha's 2 opening themes and plenty of its closing themes as well, to do Glasslip's ending song. It should be quite clear they were pushing the Hanasaku Iroha throwback angle pretty hard here. And let's talk a bit about Hanasaku Iroha too. What is it exactly? Well, in simplest terms, it's my favorite anime series from the past decade. Not one of my favorites, but the favorite, no exaggeration. A blend of workplace action, coming-of-age tale, slice-of-life shenanigans, and emotional reckoning, all framed by absolutely gorgeous countryside visuals centered around the main girl's grandma's Japanese inn. And notably an original work, not an adaptation. It's PA Works firing on all cylinders. Just a quick personal recommendation, if you've not checked out Hanasaku Iroha yet, you really should. Back to the topic at hand, tell me how I could not have been looking forward to Glasslip. Even what I had heard about the premise was encouraging. The main character's family owns a glass-making shop out in this rural area, and these are the adventures of her along with her friends. Such elegant simplicity, especially refreshing after the workings of nagi-asu. Now, I've not seen the entirety of that show, only select episodes from both the first and second halves, and it seemed to have shaped into something solid near the end, but my god, it had to have been a tortured path to get to that level of quality. My main anime partner/girlfriend and I even invented ourselves a phrase, love shapes, to describe the absurdity. The promise of a show harkening back to some of the values of Hanasaku Iroha, therefore, seemed like a godsend in this context. And then Glasslip was actually upon us, and well, let's start with the setup. Meet our 5-man band of friends. Toko, the primary gal, Yanagi, the cool and pretty girl, Yukinari, the tall runner dude with those constantly pissed off looking eyes that invite parallels to Yamakin, Hiro, the sincere plus enthusiastic oaf, and Sachi, the sickly, bespectacled, book-reading bag of tropes with a pleasant-seeming countenance. They've historically been a tight-knit group, going off on adventures like festival fireworks displays, and often meeting up at a coffee shop where Hiro works as a server. Oh, and occasionally, Toko's family makes things out of glass. But then into this set social order rudely marches the new dude in town, Kakeru Okikura, and he becomes both the factor and catalyst that changes everything when it comes to the web of latent romantic feelings. Oh yeah, and just for good measure, there's even a hint of the supernatural too. Toko apparently has these occasional vision fragments that she has yet to understand, often spurred on by the presence of glass, and Kakeru seems to have a clue about what they mean. His explanation, they may be visions of the future, thus forming Toko's reason or excuse for pursuing the new guy. All of this gets introduced within 2 episodes, and would you look at that, this ain't the series I was expecting at all. The glass shop is barely even a focus outside of being a goddamn MacGuffin. We're seeing the beginnings of relationship drama taking multiple cues from nagi-asu, and I like the show, but the way it handled the relationship stuff was easily its worst aspect, and I was completely caught off guard with the supernatural aspect. Where did it even come from? I didn't hear about that at all before the show actually started. So, in short, expectations completely dashed. Once again, though, it's essential to keep perspective. No judging based on previewing, assuming, and hope. judge based on the quality of what we actually get. So here I am right now, taking the high road and considering Glasslip based on its own merits, and it's, pretty. Honestly, the scenery is nice. All those bright primary colors are eye candy. I mean, when I walk out to the patio deck on a bright sunny day, observe the scenery around the house, and quip that, my, oh my, it looks like a PA Works show out here, Glasslip is precisely the sort of thing I'm thinking of. I mean, come on, may their virtuoso ability as animators not be in dispute. This is one of their lazier efforts, and it still looks pretty damn nice. Outside of that, though, it's a shit show, combined with all sorts of ruined potential. And it is painful to say this out loud. If this were the work of a studio made of lower hanging fruit, it wouldn't hurt so much, but this is PA fucking Works. So, it really bears asking, where did this show go wrong? Part of it has to do with the characters, especially when it comes to all of that ruined potential, and I'd like to now demonstrate it with a character hierarchy chart. Alone at the very top in the god tier is Hiro, my favorite character in the whole series hands down. He's awkward, he's clumsy, but he's also positively electric and uber sweet, and he elevates the level of chemistry in any scene he's in. In the beginning I was rooting for the Hiro-Sachi pairing hard, solely because I wanted him to end up happy. Then in the upper tier we have Yanagi and Yukinari, fellow step-siblings. Oh, by the way, I first found out that particular relationship by reading Wikipedia, because the show did such a terrible job of establishing that fact. Okay, anyway, I like them both too. Yanagi is an entertaining presence and sympathetic in how she navigates some serious romantic plight, and Yuki gets a legitimately compelling character arc concerning his track and field career. The good stops there, though. Heading into the lower tier is Toko and Sachi. There is not much to Toko outside of being the main character and befriending chickens, and as for Sachi, well, I liked her at first, as well documented here, but then, well, let's not discuss that under the pretense of spoilers. And then finally, in personality of drywall tier is Kakeru, which is what happens when you make Sugumu from Nagi-no-Asukara your main male love interest, which should have rang alarm bells in the scriptwriters' heads as a terrible idea. Most of the time, he has no discernible character, and the few exceptions to that just make him out to be an unlikable dick. Okay, from here, what is the problem with the characters in Glasslip then? Well, consider these character tiers, and consider that these two are the main protagonists. The most investment from the series is going towards the least interesting characters with the least interesting relationship dynamic, and the most interesting characters get the shaft as the result, especially poor Yanagi and Yukinari. It's even more insulting considering that what little we see of side characters like Hiro's older sister and Toko's younger sister could easily fit into the upper tier too, and that's with mere minutes of screen time each. But the biggest problem with Glasslip, what holds it back most of all, I'm amazed to be saying this right now, but it has serious fundamental issues with competent storytelling. I don't just mean the plot, but worry not, I'm getting to that soon. No, it even includes difficulty with the very act of telling a story. It cannot convey important information for shit. Example A, Yanagi and Yukinari's step-sibling relationship that took fucking Wikipedia to discover. Example B, the complete lack of apparent pretense for the reveal of Toko's supernatural ability. And Glasslip is also directorially bland. So much meandering and twiddling of thumbs going on, which is so out of character for what I've known from PA Works, because the other thing I associate them with after animation quality is strong directing, like the positively gonzo angel beats, the pitch perfection of Hanasaku Iroha, and for all its faults, Nagi-no-Asukara still felt alive no matter the scene. And then there's the plot, which is a hot, steaming pile of idiocy. Let's start with the relationship drama. After 13 episodes, yes, it was very clearly pulled from its Fish People predecessor, which is a bad idea. I mean, throwing a bunch of romantic lines against the wall and calling it angst leads to headaches instead of heartaches, and somehow Glasslip makes it even worse. It doesn't help when a fair amount of the conflict comes down to bullshit contrivances and characters being overreacting idiots. The whole thing is an utter clusterfuck, and that makes moments which should feel weighty instead feel wrong. When one competing male love interest punches the other competing male love interest in the face, the ideal recipe for an oh shit moment, it just comes off as awkward. And when the big kiss finally happens, it only leaves confusion in its wake. And the way the series handles Sachi, okay, let's just not get into that. Thinking about it alone is pissing me off. And finally, the mystery of Toko's supernatural premonitions. At this point, there will be vague spoilers, you have been warned. Okay, going into this, there is a significant chunk of the running time dedicated towards figuring the fragments out, so it would sure be a shame if it was handled horrendously, right? Well, when Kakeru first reveals to Toko what her fragments mean, we soon find it in action. And what do we get? Mostly split-second flashes of Toko's friends seemingly in emotional distress, meaning that she's more or less invading their privacy while simultaneously learning next to nothing useful about the future, which means that as a future-telling device, it's a crappy mechanic. And by God does it get better. Around the halfway mark, Kakeru gets a sudden epiphany. Hey guys, guess what? Maybe Toko's fragments are not actually visions of the future after all. Come on, are you kidding me? I mean, this also ties back into their inability to convey important information, for those of you keeping track, because when and how did Kakeru even get that epiphany in a way that doesn't come off as completely arbitrary, and was there even any way for the audience to suspect the fragments were something else? Because I had no fucking clue, and I like to think of myself as pretty smart. But alright, sure, let's roll with it. If it's not the future that Toko's seeing, then what really is it? Do we get an explanation? Or half of an explanation? Or even a quarter of an explanation? Maybe even enough apparent implications for us to satisfactorily draw some conclusions of our own? Nope. It just instead gets more confusing, heading straight into total mindfuck territory by the second to last episode, where the only thing I conclusively learned was that the writers were on heads up each other's asses levels of pretentiousness. There is less closure at the end of the series as to Toko's ability than there is at the beginning of the series. Wrap your head around that for a minute. You spend a bunch of your series claiming to figure that out, and you're worse off at the end than the beginning. Now that is real talent right there. And so, by the time Glasslip tries to pull one of those open-ended have-your-own-interpretation series-ending moments, my immediate reaction was to laugh hysterically, because just like everything else about the series, it begs the question, why? And that leads us to the conclusion. Dear PA Works, you fucked up on this one something major. You now have a long way to go to prove yourself with Shirabaku in the fall 2014 season. Let us hope that the promise of the Bakuman of anime is not wasted on you. That wraps up the review. Chime in with your thoughts in the comments if you are so compelled, especially if I am wrong, because I'd be seriously interested in hearing other viewpoints about Glasslip. Thank you very much for watching. This has been Justin, now mercifully signing off.